Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his mining ship and watched the stars through the thick glass windows. The ship was called Terra's Pride, but there was not much pride left in it after 20 years of hard work in space. The metal walls were scratched and dented from countless mining runs to dangerous places where other species would never go. Jake had gray hair now and lines around his eyes from squinting at asteroid readings for so many years. His crew was getting ready for another day of breaking rocks in the Kepler belt. These were the same men and women who had worked with him for years. They were tough people who knew how to handle the big machines that cut through solid rock and pulled out the rare metals that kept the galaxy running. Every day they risked their lives in the dark cold of space while aliens in clean offices took credit for their work. Pete Collins walked up to Jake with a cup of coffee that tasted like recycled water. Pete was Jake's oldest friend and his best engineer. He had been working the mining ship since he was 18 years old. Now he was 45 and his hands were scarred from fixing machines that other species said could not be fixed. "Got the new orders from the Federation," Pete said. His voice sounded tired. "They want us to hit the Vega 7 field." Jake took the data pad and looked at the numbers. His face got hard as he read. The Vega 7 field was a cluster of asteroids that his surveys had marked as unstable 6 months ago. The rocks were full of valuable minerals, but they were held together by ice and gas that could explode if disturbed. Any smart mining operation would use robot probes first and work very slowly. But the Federation wanted the minerals fast, and they did not care about safety. "This is crazy," Jake said. "These rocks could blow apart if we look at them wrong." Velkoth appeared on the main screen before Pete could answer. The alien looked like a cross between a lizard and a bird with silver skin and yellow eyes that never showed any emotion. Velkoth was the Federation liaison, which meant he was the alien who told humans what to do while taking all the credit for their success. "Captain Morrison," Velkoth said in his cold voice, "you will begin mining operations at Vega 7 immediately. The Federation needs those minerals for the new fleet construction." "Sir, my geological surveys show that area is dangerous," Jake said. "The asteroid formation is unstable. We need at least 3 weeks to do proper safety checks and maybe use robot probes first." Velkoth's eyes got even colder. "Human paranoia should not delay profitable operations. Your species has always been overly cautious about simple mining work. The Federation has faith in human ability to adapt to challenging conditions." Jake felt his jaw clench. Human paranoia. That was what they always called it when humans tried to do things safely. When humans suggested better ways to do dangerous jobs, aliens called it fear. When humans died because aliens ignored their warnings, it was called acceptable losses. "With respect, sir, 12 of my crew could die if we rush this job," Jake said. "Humans are replaceable, Captain Morrison. Rare minerals are not. You have your orders." The screen went black. Jake stared at the empty screen for a long moment while anger built in his chest like a fire. Pete put a hand on his shoulder but did not say anything. They both knew there was no point in arguing. Humans always followed orders in the end because they had no choice. The next morning, Jake watched his crew prepare for the most dangerous mining operation they had ever attempted. Mary Johnson was checking the cutting lasers that would slice through the asteroid rock. Bobby Lee was running tests on the collection drones that would gather the broken pieces. Susan Clark was reviewing the emergency procedures they would probably need before the day was over. These were good people who trusted Jake to keep them safe. They had families back on Earth and the colonies. They worked hard and never complained even when aliens treated them like machines instead of human beings. They deserved better than being sent into a death trap because some alien wanted to meet a quota. The mining operation started badly and got worse fast. The first asteroid they hit cracked in 3 places instead of breaking cleanly. The second one started spinning when the laser hit it and almost crashed into their ship. By lunchtime, Jake knew they were in serious trouble, but Velkoth refused to let them slow down or change their approach. The disaster happened at 3 in the afternoon ship time. Bobby Lee was guiding a collection drone near a large asteroid when the rock suddenly split apart. The explosion sent chunks of stone and metal flying in all directions. The drone was destroyed instantly, and the shockwave hit the mining ship, hard enough to crack the main hull. But the worst part was the crew shuttle that had been collecting samples on the other side of the asteroid. Jake watched in horror as 12 good people were killed instantly when the explosion caught their small ship. Pete Collins was on that shuttle, so was Mary Johnson, and 10 other crew members who had been working for the Federation for most of their adult lives. Jake stood in the cargo bay later that day looking at 12 body bags. These were people who had trusted him to bring them home safe. They had died because an alien bureaucrat cared more about mining quotas than human lives. The Federation would investigate and find that human error caused the accident. They would dock the survivors' pay for damage to equipment and delays in the mining schedule. That night, Jake sat alone in his quarters staring out at the stars. Pete's coffee cup was still on the desk where he had left it that morning. Jake picked up the cup and thought about 20 years of taking orders from aliens who saw humans as useful animals. He thought about all the human miners and workers and soldiers who had died, while aliens got rich and famous from their sacrifice. Jake opened a secure communication channel that Pete had shown him years ago. It was a way for human ship captains to talk to each other without the Federation listening. Jake had never used it before because he had always followed the rules. But the rules had just gotten 12 of his people killed. He recorded a simple message and sent it to every human captain in the sector. The message was just 2 words, but Jake knew they would change everything. Those 2 words were going to mean the end of humans being treated like slaves with no rights and no voice in their own fate. The message said, "No more." Lisa Park sat in her small office on Luna Base watching data streams flow across 6 different screens. Most people thought she was just another computer technician who kept the Federation communication systems running. They did not know that Lisa had been building a secret network for over 10 years. Every message that humans sent to each other went through systems that Lisa had quietly modified to copy and store information that might be useful someday. When Jake Morrison's message reached her hidden servers, Lisa knew that someday had finally arrived. She had been waiting for someone with enough courage to say what every human was thinking. The 2 words "no more" appeared on her screen, and Lisa smiled for the first time in months. Lisa opened her secure files and began sending Jake's message to key humans across the galaxy. But she also sent something else. She sent evidence. Lisa had been collecting data about every time the Federation had treated humans unfairly, every accident that could have been prevented, every human scientist whose work had been stolen by alien supervisors, every promotion that had been given to less qualified aliens instead of deserving humans. The evidence filled thousands of files and painted a clear picture. Humans were not junior partners in the Federation. They were slaves who did the dangerous work while aliens took the credit and the profits. Lisa had proof of systematic discrimination that went back almost 200 years. Admiral Kate Sullivan was reviewing battle plans aboard the battlecruiser New Horizon when Lisa's message arrived. Kate had spent 30 years climbing the ranks of Federation Navy. She was the highest-ranking human officer in the fleet, but she still had to report to alien commanders who had half her experience and none of her tactical skill. Kate read Jake's message and then opened Lisa's files. What she saw made her angry in a way she had not felt since she was young. Page after page of evidence showed that humans had won every major battle in the past 50 years. Human tactics, human courage, human sacrifice. But the medals and promotions always went to the alien officers who had given the orders while staying safe behind the front lines. Kate opened a secure channel to other human officers. Commander Alex Turner was leading a patrol near the Centauri system. Dr. Ben Carter was running the Federation's largest research facility. Maria Santos was working as a diplomat on the core worlds. These were humans who had reached the top of their fields despite constant obstacles put in their way by alien prejudice. "I just got a message from a mining captain named Morrison," Kate said when the conference call connected. 2 words, no more. "I think it is time we listen to him." Alex Turner's image appeared on the screen. He was a thin man with sharp eyes, who had been winning battles for the Federation since he was 25 years old. "Admiral, I have been tracking casualty reports for the past 5 years. Humans make up 30% of Federation military, but we take 60% of the casualties. We keep getting assigned to the most dangerous missions while aliens handle the safe jobs. Dr. Ben Carter joined the conversation from his laboratory. Ben was a brilliant scientist who had made discoveries that advanced Federation technology by decades. But his name never appeared on the research papers. His alien supervisors always took credit while Ben worked 18-hour days to meet impossible deadlines. I have been documenting the same pattern in research, Ben said. Humans generate most of the new ideas, but aliens publish the papers and win the awards. I have 12 patents that are credited to alien scientists who did not even understand my work well enough to explain it properly. Maria Santos appeared last on the screen. She was a diplomat who had spent 15 years negotiating treaties and trade agreements that benefited the Federation, but she was never allowed to sign the important documents. That honor always went to alien ambassadors who used Maria's work to advance their own careers. The discrimination goes all the way to the top, Maria said. I have been present for negotiations where alien leaders openly discussed how to keep humans in subordinate positions. They see us as useful, but dangerous. They think if humans ever realized how much we contribute to Federation success, we might demand equal treatment. Kate looked at the faces of her fellow humans on the screen. These were some of the most capable people in the galaxy. They had spent their lives serving the Federation faithfully while being treated as second-class citizens. The evidence that Lisa Park had compiled proved that the discrimination was not accidental. It was a deliberate policy designed to keep humans from gaining real power. What Morrison said was right, Kate continued. No more. We are not asking for special treatment. We are demanding equal treatment. The question is, how do we make it happen? Lisa Park's voice came through the secure channel. She had been listening to the conversation while working at her computers. I have been preparing for this moment for 10 years. I have documented every case of discrimination. Every human who died because aliens ignored safety warnings. Every innovation that was stolen from human researchers. Every battle that was won by human courage but credited to alien leadership. What do you propose we do with this information? Asked Ben Carter. We share it, Lisa said. Every human in the Federation needs to see this evidence. They need to understand that we are not failures who cannot measure up to alien standards. We are the backbone of Federation civilization and we have been exploited for centuries. Alex Turner leaned forward. If we release this information, the aliens will try to suppress it. They will claim it is human propaganda or emotional overreaction. We need to be prepared for their response. Kate Sullivan had been thinking about this moment for years. She knew that humans had the skill and courage to stand up to the Federation, but they had never been unified enough to act together. Morrison's message and Lisa's evidence might finally give them the catalyst they needed. We start small, Kate said. We share the information quietly through human networks. We let people see the evidence and make their own decisions. We do not push for an immediate confrontation. We just show humans the truth and let them decide what to do about it. Over the next few weeks, Lisa's evidence spread through the human community like wildfire. Mining crews read about safety violations that had killed their friends. Military units learned about battles they had won but never received credit for. Research teams discovered that their alien supervisors had been stealing their work for decades. The response was not riots or protests. Humans were too smart for that. Instead, something much more dangerous began to happen. Humans stopped trying harder than everyone else. They began to follow Federation regulations exactly as written instead of going above and beyond to get jobs done. They started working normal hours instead of volunteering for overtime. They began to treat their positions as jobs instead of callings. The effect was immediate and devastating. Production rates dropped across the Federation as humans stopped compensating for alien inefficiency. Research projects that had depended on human innovation ground to a halt. Military operations that relied on human adaptability began to fail. Vel-Koth appeared on screens across human installations demanding explanations. Why are productivity rates falling? Why are research schedules not being met? Why are military objectives not being achieved? The answer was always the same. Humans were following Federation guidelines exactly as specified. They were working the hours required by Federation labor law. They were completing the tasks assigned to them by Federation supervisors. If the results were not satisfactory, perhaps the guidelines needed to be revised. For the first time in centuries, the Federation was seeing what their civilization looked like when humans only did what they were officially asked to do, instead of what actually needed to be done. The aliens did not like what they saw. Jake Morrison received reports from human captains across the galaxy. The message was spreading. The evidence was being shared. Humans were finally understanding that they had been carrying the Federation on their backs while being told they were not strong enough to walk on their own. The day of reckoning was coming, and the Federation was not going to be ready for it. Dr. Ben Carter walked into his laboratory on Monday morning and did something he had never done before in 20 years of Federation service. He sat down at his desk and read the morning reports while drinking coffee instead of immediately starting work on the urgent projects that always seemed to need his attention. His alien supervisor Zekmore found him there an hour later still reading reports. The tall, blue-skinned Rigelian looked confused. Ben was usually deep into experiments by this time of day, solving problems that other researchers had given up on and finding ways to meet impossible deadlines. Dr. Carter, the quantum resonance project needs your input immediately, Zekmore said. The deadline is tomorrow and the preliminary results are not acceptable. Ben looked up from his report with calm eyes. According to Federation research guidelines, projects of this complexity should be given 6 months for proper development. This project was assigned to me 3 days ago. I am following standard Federation protocols for research methodology. Zekmore's skin color darkened, which meant he was getting angry. You have always been able to work faster than the guidelines suggest. The Federation depends on your ability to achieve results quickly. The Federation guidelines exist for good reasons, Ben replied. Rushed research leads to errors and safety problems. I will complete this project using proper scientific methods, even if it takes the full 6 months that Federation standards recommend. Across the galaxy, similar conversations were happening in every human workplace. Mining crews that had always exceeded production quotas were now following safety protocols exactly as written. Military units that had always volunteered for dangerous missions were now waiting for direct orders before taking action. Diplomats who had always worked extra hours to solve complex problems were now keeping regular office schedules. Commander Alex Turner was leading a patrol mission in the Tau Ceti system when his alien commanding officer ordered him to investigate suspicious activity near an asteroid field. Normally, Alex would have taken his ships in fast and aggressive to get the job done quickly. Instead, he followed Federation military procedure step by step. Sir, Federation patrol protocols require detailed sensor sweeps before approaching unknown contacts, Alex reported. This will take approximately 4 hours to complete properly. Admiral Vex Thor's voice crackled over the communication channel. Commander Turner, you have always been able to complete such missions in 1 hour. The Federation needs rapid response capabilities. Sir, I am following military regulations as written by Federation Command, Alex replied. If you require faster response times, perhaps the regulations need to be updated to reflect actual operational requirements. The results were visible within days. Federation mining output dropped by 40% as human crews stopped taking dangerous shortcuts to meet quotas. Research projects that had depended on human scientists working around the clock began missing deadlines. Military operations that relied on human officers thinking creatively began failing when those officers started following orders literally instead of adapting to changing situations. Admiral Kate Sullivan received panicked reports from alien commanders across the Federation fleet. Human crew performance had apparently dropped overnight. Ships that had always exceeded expectations were now barely meeting minimum standards. But when the alien officers investigated, they could not find any violations of Federation regulations. Kate smiled as she read the reports. The aliens were finally seeing what the Federation looked like when humans only did exactly what they were told, instead of compensating for poor planning and inefficient systems. For 2 centuries, human work ethic and creativity had hidden the fundamental weaknesses in Federation organization. Lisa Park monitored communication traffic from her hidden servers on Luna Base. She watched as alien administrators sent increasingly frantic messages to their superiors. Production reports showed declining efficiency across every sector where humans worked. The aliens could not understand why their reliable human workforce had suddenly become unreliable. The breakthrough came when Ben Carter finished analyzing the Federation database that Lisa had given him access to. Ben was a brilliant scientist, but even he was shocked by what he found in the personnel files. The Federation had been measuring intelligence and job performance for centuries, and the data showed a pattern that alien leaders had been hiding from everyone, including themselves. Humans scored higher than any other Federation species on every meaningful test of intelligence, creativity, and problem-solving ability. The refined intelligence that aliens claimed to possess was nothing more than cultural arrogance backed up by political power. In reality, humans had been doing work that required 3 times the skill level that aliens possessed while being paid as if they were manual laborers. Ben shared his analysis with the Human Leadership Network. The evidence was undeniable. Humans were not second-class citizens who had been generously allowed to join Federation civilization. They were the most capable species in the Federation, and they had been systematically exploited for 2 centuries. Jake Morrison read Ben's report while sitting in the captain's chair of Terra's Pride. His ship was currently following Federation mining protocols exactly as written, which meant they were extracting about 1/3 as much ore as they used to. When Velkoth demanded explanations, Jake simply referred him to the Federation safety manual. "We are following all regulations, sir," Jake said during their daily conference call. "If the productivity rates are insufficient, perhaps the regulations need to be reviewed by Federation experts who understand mining operations better than humans do." Velkoth's yellow eyes showed confusion and growing anger. "Captain Morrison, human mining teams have always exceeded these basic requirements. The Federation has built its industrial planning around human ability to work beyond minimum standards." "Sir, minimum standards exist for safety reasons," Jake replied. "My crew lost 12 people because we were pushed to work beyond safe limits. We will not take those risks again unless Federation leadership provides better guidelines that account for actual working conditions." The same pattern was repeating across the galaxy. Humans who had spent their careers going above and beyond were now doing exactly what was required and nothing more. The Federation had become dependent on human excellence while taking it for granted. Now they were learning what their civilization looked like without it. Maria Santos was attending a diplomatic conference on the core world of Centaurus Prime when the alien delegates began discussing the human problem. She listened quietly as species representatives complained about declining performance from their human workers. "Perhaps we have been too generous with the humans," said Ambassador Krell 9 from the Andromedans. "They seem to have forgotten their proper place in Federation hierarchy." "The humans appear to be engaging in coordinated resistance," added Delegate Wex Prime from the Rigelians. "This suggests a level of organization we did not expect from their species." Maria stood up, slowly. Every alien in the room turned to look at her. She was the only human present, and normally she would have stayed quiet while her alien superiors discussed policy. But today was different. "Honored delegates," Maria said in a calm voice, "humans are not engaging in resistance. We are following Federation regulations exactly as they are written. If the results are unsatisfactory, perhaps the regulations do not reflect the actual requirements for successful operations." The room fell silent. No human had ever spoken up in a Federation policy meeting before. The aliens looked at each other uncertainly. "The humans seem to think they have opinions about Federation policy," Ambassador Krell 9 said with what sounded like amusement. "We have data about Federation policy," Maria replied. "We have 2 centuries of evidence showing that human performance has carried this civilization while human contributions have been minimized and ignored. Perhaps it is time for an honest discussion about how the Federation actually functions." That night, Maria sent a report to the Human Leadership Network. The aliens were beginning to understand that something fundamental had changed in their relationship with humanity. But they still believed that humans could be intimidated or coerced back into their previous role as willing servants. The aliens were about to learn that humans who had decided to say no more were very different from humans who had been afraid to say anything at all. The Federation Council Chamber was the most impressive building on the capital world of Prima Centralis. 12 different species had representatives sitting around a massive circular table made from crystal that had been mined by human crews decades ago. The walls were covered with art created by human artists but credited to alien patrons. The building itself had been designed by human architects working under alien supervision. Council Chairman Vex Supreme was a tall Rigelian with blue skin and silver eyes that reflected the chamber's lights. He had called an emergency session because Federation efficiency had dropped to dangerous levels across all sectors. Mining operations were failing to meet quotas. Research projects were missing deadlines. Military operations were producing poor results. The chairman needed answers and solutions. The human workforce has become unreliable, reported Administrator Velkoth from his seat at the table. Production rates have fallen to minimum acceptable levels across all human-operated facilities. When questioned, human supervisors claim they are following Federation guidelines exactly as written. Council member Zekthor from the Andromedans waved one of his forearms dismissively. The humans are clearly engaged in coordinated resistance. This is exactly why we have always been careful to keep them in subordinate positions. Give them too much freedom, and they begin to think they are equal to their betters. What do you recommend? Asked Chairman Vex Supreme. Simple solution, replied Zekthor. We replace the human workers with automated systems and crews from more reliable species. The humans have shown they cannot be trusted to maintain proper work standards. The council members nodded in agreement. They had always known this day might come when the humans would need to be reminded of their place in the Federation hierarchy. It would be expensive to replace human workers, but it would also remove a source of ongoing problems. Approved, said Chairman Vex Supreme. Begin immediate replacement of human crews with automated systems and workers from trustworthy species. Also implement economic sanctions on human colonies to discourage further resistance. The council members felt satisfied with their decision. They had dealt with rebellious species before. A show of economic force usually brought troublesome populations back into line quickly. The humans would soon learn that the Federation could function perfectly well without their contributions. 3 weeks later, Chairman Vex Supreme was reading disaster reports from across the Federation. The automated mining systems had suffered catastrophic failures when they encountered the complex conditions that human crews had been handling routinely. Alien workers sent to replace human miners had managed to destroy more equipment in 2 weeks than humans had lost in 2 years. The research facilities were in even worse condition. Without human scientists working 18-hour days to meet impossible deadlines, most projects had ground to a complete halt. The alien researchers who were supposed to replace them could not understand the complex systems that humans had developed and maintained. The military situation was worst of all. Alien officers who had been taking credit for human tactical innovations discovered they could not actually implement those tactics without human troops. 3 major military operations had failed completely when alien commanders tried to use traditional Federation strategies instead of the adaptive methods that human officers had perfected. This is impossible, Chairman Vex Supreme said to his aide while reviewing the reports. How can the replacement of one species cause this much disruption? Admiral Kate Sullivan requested a meeting with the Federation Council 3 days later. She arrived at the capital world aboard her battlecruiser New Horizon, accompanied by a fleet of human warships that had been quietly modified over the years by human engineers. The aliens did not know that humans had been improving their ships, using innovations that alien supervisors never bothered to understand. Kate walked into the council chamber wearing her dress uniform with 30 years of service ribbons. She was followed by Jake Morrison, Dr. Ben Carter, Commander Alex Turner, Maria Santos, and Lisa Park. These were the humans who had been leading their species toward independence while the Federation took their loyalty for granted. Honored Council, Kate said in a clear voice, I am here to present an ultimatum on behalf of all human citizens of the Federation. Chairman Vex Supreme looked annoyed. Admiral Sullivan, the Federation does not negotiate with rebellious populations. Your species has violated work agreements and damaged Federation operations. You will resume normal productivity levels immediately or face severe consequences. Kate smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. Mr. Chairman, we are not here to negotiate. We are here to inform you of our decision. Humanity withdraws from the Federation effective immediately. We will establish our own government based on merit rather than species prejudice." The council chamber erupted in angry voices. 12 different species began shouting at once about human ingratitude and Federation law. Chairman Vex Supreme banged his gavel repeatedly until the noise died down. "The Federation does not permit species to withdraw," the chairman said. "You are Federation citizens, and you will obey Federation law. Your colonies will be blockaded, and your ships will be confiscated until you return to proper behavior." Jake Morrison stepped forward. "Mr. Chairman, you seem to think we are asking for permission. We are not. We tried working within your system for 200 years. We followed your rules and accepted your judgments even when we knew they were unfair. That time is over." Dr. Ben Carter activated a holographic display that filled the center of the chamber. This data shows that humans have been responsible for 70% of Federation technological advancement, 80% of successful military operations, and 90% of dangerous industrial work. We have been carrying this civilization while being told we were not qualified to lead it. Council member Zekthor stood up angrily. "Humans are lying about their contributions. They are junior partners who have been allowed to participate in Federation greatness. Without Federation guidance, human colonies would still be primitive settlements struggling to survive." Lisa Park spoke for the first time. "We have documented evidence of systematic discrimination going back 2 centuries. Every human innovation that was credited to alien supervisors. Every human life that was lost because alien administrators ignored safety warnings. Every promotion that was given to less qualified aliens instead of deserving humans." Commander Alex Turner added his voice to the discussion. "We also have evidence that Federation military success depends entirely on human tactical innovation and human courage. Your alien officers have been taking credit for victories they could not have achieved without human troops doing the actual fighting." Maria Santos looked directly at the council members. "The Federation has a choice. You can grant humans equal representation in Federation government and end the discriminatory policies that have defined our relationship for centuries. Or you can watch us leave and build our own civilization based on fairness and merit." Chairman. Vex Supreme's silver eyes showed the cold anger that came when superior beings were challenged by their inferiors. "The Federation will never grant equal status to humans. You are a young species that has been fortunate to be allowed to serve alongside your betters. If you choose rebellion over gratitude, you will face the full military power of the Federation." Kate Sullivan nodded as if she had expected this response. "Mr. Chairman, we gave you the opportunity to choose cooperation over confrontation. You have made your decision clear. Now you will discover what happens when humans stop trying to make the Federation work, despite its fundamental flaws." The human delegation walked out of the council chamber without waiting to be dismissed. Behind them, alien voices rose in angry discussion about how to punish the rebellious humans. The council members were confident that a show of military force would bring the humans back to their proper place. They had no idea that they were about to fight a war against the people who had been winning all their battles for them. The humans were no longer asking for fair treatment. They were going to take it, and they were going to help other species understand that the Federation's power was built on fear rather than strength. The age of human subservience was over. The age of human independence was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. The first Federation attack came exactly 1 week after the human ultimatum was rejected. Admiral Vex Supreme of the Federation Navy led a fleet of 200 ships to the human colony of New Texas in the Barnard system. The plan was simple: destroy the colony's defenses and force the human population to surrender. Once other human settlements saw what happened to rebels, the resistance would collapse. Admiral Kate Sullivan was waiting for them with 50 human ships that looked old and outdated compared to the sleek Federation fleet. What the aliens could not see were the modifications that human engineers had been making for decades. Improved shields that could absorb twice the expected energy. Weapons that fired faster and hit harder than Federation specifications suggested. Engines that could maneuver in ways that alien pilots had never learned. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it was over, The Federation fleet was scattered and running for home while the human ships remained in perfect formation around New Texas. Admiral Vex Supreme's flagship limped back to Federation space with 40% of his fleet destroyed, and the rest damaged beyond immediate repair. Commander Alex Turner had planned the entire battle, using tactics that he had developed during years of Federation service. But this time he was not fighting to win glory for alien officers. He was fighting to protect human families and human freedom. The difference in motivation showed in every maneuver and every decision. All Federation ships have withdrawn from the system, reported Lieutenant Lucy Grant from her position at the tactical station. New Texas colony is secure. Kate Sullivan looked at the tactical display showing the debris from Federation ships scattered across space. She felt no satisfaction in the destruction. These were crews who had served alongside humans for years, but they had chosen to attack human civilians instead of accepting human independence. "Send a message to all Federation forces," Kate said. "Any ship that attacks human colonies or threatens human civilians will be destroyed. Any ship that withdraws peacefully will be allowed to leave. We are not interested in conquest, we want to be left alone." The news of the Federation defeat spread across the galaxy faster than official military reports. Other species that had been quietly unhappy with Federation policies began to pay attention. If humans could stand up to the mighty Federation Navy and win, perhaps other forms of resistance were possible. Jake Morrison was leading the liberation of the mining facilities in the Kepler Belt when he received word of the victory at New Texas. His converted mining ships had surrounded the Federation administrative station where Velkoth and his staff were trying to organize a defense using alien workers who had no idea how to operate the equipment that humans had been running for decades. "Velkoth, this is Captain Morrison," Jake said over the open communication channel. "You have 10 minutes to evacuate your personnel from this facility. After that, we will take control of our workplace." Velkoth's voice came back filled with outrage and disbelief. "Captain Morrison, you cannot steal Federation property. These facilities were built with Federation resources for Federation purposes. These facilities were built by human workers using human knowledge to extract materials that humans died to obtain," Jake replied. "The only Federation contribution was paperwork and supervision. You have 9 minutes." Jake watched through the view screen as alien administrators scrambled to evacuate equipment and data files from the mining station. These were the same aliens who had ignored safety warnings and treated human deaths as acceptable business expenses. Now they were learning what it felt like to be powerless. Dr. Ben Carter was having similar success at the research facilities throughout Federation space. Alien scientists who had been taking credit for human innovations discovered that they could not actually operate the laboratories that humans had designed and built. Complex experiments that required human intuition and creativity failed when aliens tried to run them using standard Federation procedures. "The Quantum Resonance Project has been suspended indefinitely," Ben reported to Kate Sullivan during their weekly conference call. "It turns out that our Rigelian supervisors do not actually understand the theoretical principles involved. Without human researchers to do the actual work, they cannot make any progress." Ben's alien supervisors had tried to continue their research, using automated systems and non-human staff. The results were disasters that destroyed expensive equipment and set Federation science back by decades. The aliens were finally seeing what their research programs looked like without humans working day and night to make impossible projects succeed. Maria Santos was coordinating diplomatic efforts from the human embassy on the neutral world of Proxima Station. Representatives from 6 different species had approached her quietly about the possibility of joining the human independence movement. These were populations that had been dominated by the major Federation powers for centuries. "The Centaurians want to know if humans would accept them as allies," Maria reported. "They have been classified as a service species like humans, but they have engineering skills that could be valuable. The Vegan traders are interested in economic partnership outside Federation control." Kate Sullivan studied the reports from across human space. The independence movement was growing faster than anyone had expected. Human colonies that had been isolated and vulnerable were now working together as a unified force. More importantly, other species were beginning to see that Federation power was not as absolute as they had been led to believe. The Federation response was predictable and desperate. Chairman Vex Supreme ordered economic sanctions against any species that traded with human colonies. He sent propaganda broadcasts claiming that humans were violent rebels who threatened galactic peace. He mobilized the remaining Federation fleet for a massive attack that would crush human resistance once and for all. But the Federation's problems went deeper than military defeats. Without human workers, their economy was collapsing. Without human researchers, their technology was stagnating. Without human tactical expertise, their military was losing battles against opponents they had dominated for centuries. Lisa Park monitored Federation communication networks from her new command center on Luna Base. She watched as alien leaders sent increasingly panicked messages about equipment failures, production shortfalls, and military defeats. The Federation was discovering that they had been dependent on human competence while refusing to acknowledge human contributions. The Federation is requesting emergency assistance from the Galactic Trade Consortium, Lisa reported. They need replacement workers for critical facilities and technical experts to maintain systems that humans designed. The consortium is refusing to get involved in what they call a domestic dispute. 6 months after the human ultimatum, the Federation was facing internal rebellions from 3 different species and economic collapse across 12 star systems. The mighty civilization that had ruled the galaxy for centuries was falling apart without the human workers who had been holding it together. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his new flagship, a battlecruiser that had been built entirely by human shipyards using resources from human-controlled mining operations. Through the view screen, he could see the memorial beacon he had placed near the asteroid, where Pete Collins and 11 other miners had died. The beacon broadcast a simple message that could be heard across the entire system. We remember those who died because others valued profits more than human lives. We remember those who suffered because others thought human pain was acceptable. We remember, and we will never again allow anyone to decide our worth based on their prejudices. Admiral Kate Sullivan received the final Federation surrender 3 days later. Chairman Vex Supreme appeared on her screen looking older and more tired than she had ever seen him. The proud Rigelian who had dismissed human concerns now understood what the galaxy looked like without human contributions. Admiral Sullivan, the chairman said quietly, the Federation Council requests negotiations for a peaceful resolution to this conflict. We are prepared to discuss terms for human autonomy within the existing Federation structure. Kate looked at the alien leader who had spent decades treating humans as useful animals. Mr. Chairman, we are no longer interested in autonomy within your system. We have established the Terran independent systems based on merit rather than species prejudice. Any species that values fairness over tradition is welcome to join us. The Terran independent systems grew rapidly as populations across the galaxy realized that human leadership meant opportunity based on ability rather than birthright. The Federation continued to exist, but it was smaller, weaker, and forced to compete with a rival civilization that valued innovation over bureaucracy. Commander Alex Turner became the first human to command a truly integrated fleet where species worked together as equals. Dr. Ben Carter led research teams where the best ideas won recognition regardless of who suggested them. Maria Santos helped draft the Terran Constitution that guaranteed equal rights and equal opportunities for all citizens. Jake Morrison returned to mining, but now he worked for companies owned by the people who did the dangerous jobs. Safety was the first priority, and no one pressured crews to take risks for the sake of production schedules.